In total, this particular conveyor will ship in the tail section, the head section. We have the front leg assembly, the rear leg assembly, the axle, and the 2 tires. When the machine ships, if it's a single conveyor, it will ship with all of the rollers installed. If it's multiple conveyors, they will remove the top rollers so they can stack the trusses on top of each other. When you mount the carrier rollers, you want to make sure that the bolts on each side are equal so that the belt will travel square and true. When the conveyor arrives on a site, you'll be given a bag of bolts, 7/8 bolts, grade 5, 2.5 inches long. These bolts, 6 in total, will mount the tail section and the head section together. All right, team, here we have our conveyor belt getting ready to be strung. You'll notice there's a carry side, which is going to be the thicker side of belting. You can see the braiding in the middle, and down below the braiding is thinner. So when you install this, you want to have the carry side up. That's where your material will be. When you receive the machine, it will have this rear guard in place. This will need to be removed when you get ready to string your belt. So right now, what we're doing is we're just removing the 4 corner bolts, and then we will lift that off and get it out of our way. This will allow us clearance to get that belt strung. And with that removed, we can get a better view here at the tail pulley. You can see it's a beater pulley, so self-cleaning. This will go run along the belt when the belt's moving and tap on it with each one of these bars, which cleans the material. Lets your belt run smoothly and prevents damage. You can also see that we have a wiper that cleans the top of the belt as it comes through. Here we're just stringing the belt through the machine. You can use a pickup, you use a forklift, tractor, whatever you have. When stringing the belt, they have a special tool here. That tool is an old piece of belt with a section of their splice. And what they actually do is they will splice that small section of belt, which is tied up to a rope, to the new belt. They will then hook up and drag the belt. If you don't have anything that you can build to do that, you can use vice grips or a welding clamp just to grab onto the end of the belt and then hook something up to pull it through. You do want to be careful so you don't rip the splice or the belt doing that.
All right, so we got the belt across the top, and now we've got to route it back under.
These belts do come pre-spliced. Once you have it strung to connect it, all you'll have to do is just install the dowel through the splice.
Gives you those washers, and you take a pair of vice grips and smash them. A 5/16 nut also works. Threads will dig into the actual noodle. See these washers, they're bent, and so when you squeeze them, it holds them on there, but smashing the ends is the best solution. And if you do have to take it off, almost everybody's got a cordless wafer wheel. You could cut this first one open.
When setting the tension for the belt, allow 2 inches of droop on the return side of the belt. You have your tension rod here and here. You will adjust those. It will slide this assembly back or move it forward. You can see here where it was. We tightened them up, drug the assembly back to give tension to our belt. The total belt install procedure probably took us 5 to 10 minutes. When the conveyors are being shipped one at a time, they will install your pulleys on each end. You can see how they mount here, very simple. And then we have the shaft that goes into the reducer. Over on the side, we have the belt containment. The belts are in there right now, but there's no drive motor. They will go around this pulley located here on the reducer, and then they will connect to a pulley that comes off the drive motor up top. That drive motor will mount here. This conveyor does not have the drive motor because the customer has a preferred motor he would like to use. You can see that you have an adjustment to keep your gearbox and motor assembly level. It's just a turnbuckle style adjustment. These gearboxes or reducers ship with no oil. The customer will be responsible for filling this with oil. You can see here is the vent, which is what you'll use to fill. And then you will simply remove this plug, fill in at the top until you get oil seepage out of the plug here. You'll let the system level off, reinstall the plug, reinstall the vent. If you look down in front of me, we have the rear axle leg assembly. On the left side here, we have the mounting pin, which will mount in either of these two holes to adjust your height. These plates will bolt to the axle assembly. We have the front leg assembly. This rear side, so you can see the holes at the base, will pin into these brackets on the axle. Up front, we have our front pin, which will mount in either of these two holes, also adding to the adjustment of the height. Here we are installing the front leg. You can see we're using a forklift. We can also use a come along to raise that up. We're pinning the front of the leg in the front hole, just one single pin. And then we have one pin that goes in the far side to keep that pin set. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna raise the conveyor up. We're gonna simply slide this axle assembly in. Once that assembly's in, we will raise up this front leg post assembly. We're gonna slide that pin in to mount the axle. That second pin is slid in. So now we're gonna raise it up. Again, you can use a forklift or a come along. This will allow that axle to roll back so we can then mount the other section. What we're doing here is chaining front leg assembly, so then we can remove the forklift. You can see we're bringing that tail leg assembly in. What we're doing here is just mating that up. We'll now take the forklift up front and we'll adjust that to get the holes to line up. We'll install the pin and the machine will be set up.
Here's the finished product.
So we were able to use 3 forklifts to install this. However, if you have one crane off of a service truck, one forklift, a telehandler, you would be able to do the same thing using come-alongs to pull your pieces up to where they need to be.